Now the slide that I am going to show you is a pure replica from one of the premium courses that I was enrolled in, and I could not think of any better approach than this to explain you media queries. So if any one of you may recognize where this example is taken from, no need to get confused. Enjoy. Since we are developing a real world website, we need to think about responsive web design principles from the very beginning, even if we initially build and test for big screens. So these principles are really ingrained in the entire development process. And so therefore, before we actually start to building the site, let's quickly learn what responsive design is all about. So responsive design or responsive web design, as it's been more traditionally called, is essentially a technique that we can use to make a web page adjust its layout and its visual style to any possible screen size. And with screen size, we don't just mean the entire screen of the device that is being used to consume the page, but it might also just be the window or the viewport size of the browser. So in practice, this means that responsive web design makes websites usable on all devices, no matter if you are using desktop computers, tablets, or a mobile phone. A responsive website will be easily consumable on each devices. Now, it is important to understand that responsive web design is not a separate technology. So instead, it is really just a set of best practices and techniques that we use in our regular CSS. Now, finally, we also need to talk about the two opposite strategies of building responsive sites with CSS. So the first one is the desktop first approach, in which we optimize our interface for large screens, and so therefore we start writing CSS for these large screens into our main CSS file, and then later when we actually want to make the website responsive, we simply write media queries in order to shrink the design to fit to smaller screens. Now on the other hand, in mobile first, we start writing CSS code for smaller screens in order to basically optimize our layout and our website for mobile small screens. Then from there, we can move up to large screens, of course, and again that is also using media queries. So basically, it is the complete opposite of desktop first. Now the idea that is behind this strategy of mobile first is that we as the designer, we really have to think about the mobile experience of our users, and basically we can do that by reducing our website to the absolute essentials and stripping away everything that is not entirely necessary. And since we live in a mobile world now, this has actually become the more modern way of building websites these days. But again, doing desktop first is also a fine approach you can take. It's more of a personal preference, like if you want to develop your website for desktop first and then optimize it for mobile sizes or vice versa. Let's now understand media queries and how it works. Now the example that I am going to show you is max width property that we use in desktop first approach. But you need not get confused. You just have to understand what media queries are, and it will all make sense when to use max width and when to use min width. Nevertheless, we are anyway going to develop our website. There I will give you more in-depth explanations. So let's say we want to apply a certain styles for the range between 0 to 600 pixel. So then we could write a media query like this. So we would write at media and then max width colon 600 pixels. So basically this media query checks if the current viewport is smaller or equal than 600 pixel, and if it is, then all the CSS code that is in this media query will apply, and if no, then that code that is in this media query will not apply. So what this means is that the max width is 600 because 600 is the maximum width at which the media query still works, so where it still applies. Now after 600 pixel, for example at 700 pixel, it stops working, so the code is no longer gonna be applied. Now let's try another one, because of course we can create more than just one media query. So for example, if we wanted to cover the space from 0 to 1200 pixels, we would write a media query like this. So now we have max width to 1200 pixels, and so this media query basically asks the question, is the width less or equal than 1200 pixels? And so if it is, then of course this code that is in this media query will be applied. Alright, now inside these media queries here, we simply override some of the specific parts of the global CSS, so the code that is outside of any media query, but all the rest of the code will still apply. And so you can think of any media queries as tools for basically overriding specific parts of our CSS at certain viewport width. Okay, but anyway, switching back to our two media queries example here, maybe you are wondering what happens if, for example, a certain phone has a width of 400 pixels. So which media query will apply now in this situation? And that is of course an excellent question. And the answer is indeed simple. So both queries will apply because both of the conditions are actually true, right? So these 400 pixels are of course less than 600 pixels, and they are also less than 1200 pixels. And so the code in both media queries will be applied. Now, if you have conflicting CSS declarations in these queries, which is in fact usually the case, then the one which appears last in the code is the one that will apply. But now another example, this time with the phone of 1000 pixels of width, or maybe actually a tablet. So here only the 1200 pixels media query applies because only that condition is true. So 1000 is of course less than 1200 pixels, but it is not less than 600, and therefore only this 1200 pixel media query does apply here. So with that, I hope you understand how the media queries work. So let's now understand by writing few lines of code. I have a very simple markup here with this style.css file, and I'm going live here. So in the markup I don't have too much fancy code, just a very simple header that contains one h2, a main tag that has one section container that contains one h1, and a footer with a paragraph. So let's now understand media queries. So there are two preferred ways of developing a website. Either you can develop your website with desktop first approach and then a mobile first approach. In desktop first approach, you keep your screen this much wide. So you develop for your desktop first. You start your CSS, global CSS, by looking at this screen this much wide. So your menu bar will be somewhere here. Then you have this much wide, you can say header, okay? And then you design your website and develop your website as per this much of width. And at the same time, we have mobile first approach as well, in which you shrink your website to fit for the mobile point of view. So let me do that now. Right click, inspect, and then I will toggle this responsive mode. Well, it is already toggled, so just click it, and now you will be able to toggle this responsive mode by simply dragging this button across. Okay, so now we have control over how much wide our website gets. Okay, you can also control the width by manually typing the pixel values. So I can say 400. I don't have to say pixel, I just have to say 400. Hit enter, and there you go. You can also increase the width by clicking the up arrow on your keyboard, up and down button on your keyboard, and you can also click this button here. Okay, so this will increase and decrease the width. So this is the mobile point of view. Okay, and yeah, you can also select for your preferred device. For example, iPhone XR, it would be this much wide, but then you will not be able to control the width. So for that, again, you'll have to go to responsive mode, and then you can actually control the width, and you can see that, okay, so at my device, at this width, how my website is going to look. Okay, but this is overall structure of mobile first approach. You keep your website, you keep your browser at this point, at this wide, and then you start writing global CSS for mobile screen. And then once it is done, then by using minimum width, you keep increasing your website width of website, and then adjust their layout by writing media queries. Okay, so let's now write media query and understand it. Okay, so let's say that on global CSS, I will say that my body will have a background color of blue. Now our entire website will be blue. Okay, so blue doesn't look too accurate. Let's go with this color. Okay, just pardon me, I couldn't select any better color, so I'm doing some random stuffs. Okay, so this is our overall structure of website. Let's keep it to 400. Now let's say that this is my mobile website. Now when I increase my website to 500 pixel, I want the look and feel to slightly change. Okay, so I can use minimum width. So when you say media screen and minimum width colon 400 pixel, In English, this means that the styles that you are going to write here will be applied if the screen is at least 400 pixel wide and above. So here you can override all of these. So here you can again select the body, and now you can say that, hey, now I want my background color to be orange red. Okay, so if I save this, and now you see that our background is orange red. At 400, this is our mobile first, this is our mobile's design, but when I go above, now the design completely changed. Similarly, you can also say that now I want my header subtitle to be not like this. I will say font dash size to be, let's say, 2 rem, and I also want to change the color to white. If I save this, and now you will see that yeah, font size increased and the color changed to white. But if I quickly get it under 400, now you see that our by default CSS, so global CSS, is applying. Okay, so this is media query. This is very simple media query. At the same time, we have max width. So max width approach is taken when we are developing our website with desktop point of view. So now I'm just going to assume that this is our desktop width 1320 pixel, and so now we designed our desktop, and now we want to make this website responsive on every screen size. So let's say from 1300 I went to 800 and my screen is breaking. So now I want to adjust the layout of my website for 800 pixels, so that I can control with max width. So here I can say that for 800, now you are going to write your styles. So this media query in English means that the styles that you are going to write here, it will be applied till the screen width is maximum 900 pixel or 800 pixel wide. Okay, for 801 it is not valid. Why? Because that will be overridden by our global CSS, because this is desktop first approach. Okay, so let's keep it at 800 because this will probably be the view for tablet, screen resolution for tablet. I'm just assuming this can be up and down. You can control that by selecting from here. So iPad Air, it is 820. Okay, but I'm going to go to responsive mode because that way I will be able to control its width and height. Let me drag it down. Okay, and no, I do not want this much. I want only 800, and I think I need to zoom. Okay, anyway, let's keep it here. Now here I'm just going to say that in tablet I want my header subtitle to look little different. So now I can say that text dash decoration to be underlined. I'm just doing some random stuffs. Okay, and I'll say color to be, yeah, let's change the color to white, and font size to be 3 rem. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's just keep doing it. Okay, and so now you see that on our tablet the website looks completely different. This is our by default, this website is by default. What have I done? If I reload it real quick, no, nothing happens. Oh, this is 1600, so I need to keep it at 100%. Okay, so now I will say that at 800, you see that from this is desktop, and now we are adjusting our layout for tablet. So on 800 our website will be completely changed. Now these designs come into play. If you go further for mobile, you can again write a media query. So you can just duplicate all of this, and now you can say that now at maximum width of 400 I want my body to be painted with green. Okay, and now yeah, let's keep the header subtitle, or header subtitle, let's say header subtitle to display none. I just want this to be not visible on mobile, display none. And if I keep it to 400, let's go to 400, you see that our, let's fix it to 100%, and now our header underscore subtitle is not visible. But if I expand the width, it is visible after we go to 401. Okay, so this is media query, max width versus min width. Now we also have one better approach, that if you want to control the layout between one particular point to another particular point, for example, I want to design my website specifically for 500 pixel to 800 pixel, then I can also do that. So that I can do that by combining two media queries. So I'm just going to copy this, and now here media screen and max width and media screen, this one, and here I can write and, oh actually not, here I'll have to write and as well, and max width, and here I'll have to write one more, min width, and maximum width is 500, so I will say at 500 pixel, and minimum width to be 800 pixel. And now here I can control the design between these points. Okay, so for maximum width, oh no, it should be minimum width. Okay, so minimum width is 500 and maximum width should be 800. Now between these, the website should look completely different. So I'm just going to select the body, and I will give it a background color of black. Let's keep it black. Okay, and now our website between 500 pixel to 800 pixel will look black. So if I go to 500 to 800, see, from 500 to 800 our website is completely designed differently. Why? Because now I have specifically said that, hey, from 500 pixel to 800 pixel I want my website to look a little different, and then after that you can carry on. So below 400 do this. Okay, and yeah, maximum width for 800 do this. After 800 you can do this, not after 800 but below 800 you can do this. But you can see I am overriding these styles as well. So here I have specifically said that minimum width between 500 to 800 pixel I want my website to be styled like this, and after 800 pixel you can design my website like this. Okay, so actually I have used max width here. It means that the screen width is maximum 800 pixel wide. For 801 not valid, so this code simply does not have any value here. But again, just to explain you, these are the differences between min width, max width, and you can also combine multiple media queries to adjust the layout as if you want to adjust for a particular width of the device. Okay, now I'm not going to set you free very easily. Yeah, I have again very simple article. So Andres Galante, thank you Andre. So a complete guide to CSS media queries. Go through it and read it. So this is the anatomy of a media query. This is media, this is at rule. So at media is rule, screen is media type, and then here you write the media feature, and then we have an operator, and then media feature. So this is multiple operators at works. Okay, so we are using multiple width size for minimum width and maximum width. Again, you can read it further right here. Okay, so this is very simple media queries, and let's now start to understand what responsive web design by creating our project. And yeah, I was reading few articles on React.js because I'm practicing it. I need to create one React course as well. But anyway, let's quickly shift our focus to final portfolio.